Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here with another Off the Chopping Block episode. Today we have Czechoslovakia for my 1936 game, ready to be taken over by the Germans or maybe launch a defense, depending on how the situation arises. As always, we have a little bit of camera trouble, but as you can see, we have the nice flag set from Historical Board Gaming, and getting into their units. Now, they don't have a huge setup in the game, but I do have a upcoming expansion set which adds to the neutral setup, so I do have some more units to show you guys today. But first we'll get into what they usually get in their setup. So first off, we have their Infantry Scopes. I ended up just searching through my units and picking out some 1980s era soldiers, but they look well as the Czechs had kind of Soviet-inspired kind of uniforms based on their helmets and color schemes. So as you can see, we've got their flag on the bottom, or more so kind of roundel, but I like that as the flag. And I just did some minor modifications in terms of like cutting up the assault rifle to make it look more World War II era. But I really like the Czech army. They're one of my favorite infantry neutrals that start the game. Here we have a heavy machine gunner, and he's just, on his knee. Pretty cool looking pose. There we go. Underslung machine gun. Probably not time period accurate, but looks pretty awesome. And he is there to defend probably like the Sudetenland or something like that. Let's see if we can get the background to focus. There we go. And then getting a little bit into the additional setup, we have a militia, and as always, we are not focusing, but there we go. Just a Dutch militia sculpt. Again, round on the bottom, nothing too special about them. And then getting into the cool stuff, their equipment. So first off, we have a artillery piece. This is a Dutch artillery piece, and got a kind of special camouflage scheme that I found that the Czechs were using. I think it was referred to Japanese pattern, because the Japanese made heavy use of this kind of three-toned camouflage color scheme. Next up, we'll be doing their light tank. This does start in Global War 1936, but also in this expanded setup. So this is just a Polish light tank, but we've got it done up in Czech colors. The problem with these camouflage schemes is it does get a little hard to, I guess it does help breaking up, the patterns and camouflaging the tank, because it kind of breaks up the look of it. You can't really see the lines as easily, and it ends up looking a little messy at such a small scale, but I definitely like it. Adds some diversity to the board. So that is their light tank arm. And then further into their expanded setup, we have a motorized infantry. The Czechs had one of the largest armies, or standing armies, in Europe during the 1930s. They had about 1.6 million men, which was, it could compete with Germany. They definitely didn't have the land to do it. Like, if Germany decided to full-on invade and hostilities broke out, then the Czechs were probably screwed anyways, but they did have a huge standing army that probably would have made the Germans pay pretty dearly for every inch of land that they took. But as we know in history, they ended up conceding because of the Allies and their government, and giving up the Sudetenland, and then the rest of the nation ended up falling. Here we have another piece that you'll see or be familiar with in Global War. A Fokker fighter plane, which makes up the Czech fighter arm. And then lastly, we have a medium bomber. Now this is a Polish medium bomber. The Czechs did make use of a couple of these. They usually used, or their main bomber force were made up of Russian medium bombers. I forget the actual name of those bombers, but basically Czechoslovakia had put a ton of money and funding into their air force. They had their air marshal had famously said that Czechoslovakia is landlocked and they can't build the navy, so they should put their funding into their air force because the sky is basically their ocean. So then when the Germans ended up invading, the Czechs famously took their air force, their pilots jumped in their planes, and most of them got away to places like Poland. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little look at Czechoslovakia, and I hope to see you guys again. Cobra, out.